What's going on, everybody? Kerry Digsby. Hey, guess what? It's conversation time. Stay tuned.
What's going on, family? Kerry Digsby. It has been a long time, and it's interesting because I was actually pushed into doing this, and it's just coming to fruition. To God be the glory. It is Conversations with CD. So thank you for joining us on our very first episode of Conversations with CD. And I could think of no better time nor individual to do it with than this gentleman. We met him about a year ago, and it was during an event in which I was nominated for an award. And at that time, when we talked, we vibed. It's amazing what he's doing here in the QC, being a transplant. I can't say any more, so I'm just going to bring to you my brother, Jorge Millares. How you doing, brother?
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the intro.
Man, hey, I've been practicing that intro for like 2 days because I've been waiting for this day. So, man, what's going on?
Man, life is good, man. Just been busy and really just focusing a lot of my energy on Queen City Unity. Of course, you know, I think I shared with you earlier, I've stepped away from my full-time gig in the private sector just to invest all of my time and energy into Queen City Unity, and it has been the best 4 months of my life, man.
Wow. Walking in your gift. So, check this out. I know, and I just mentioned it to the people at large, you know, you're a transplant. There's so many people that I run into, and they say, you know, I'm not from the QC, and when you run into a Charlottean, it's amazing. It's almost a rarity, you know. I'm myself, I'm not from here, but when you came with a vision, and that, to me, that was incredible, because it seems like when you came hitting the ground running. Queen City Unity. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. So I actually moved up. It was around 2011, and when I come from Miami, Florida. You know, I'm a first-generation American. My parents are Cuban, so I grew up in a Spanish household. You know, the official language of my home was Spanglish, right? Either English or Spanish, just a combination of both. And on my neighborhood, you know, where I grew up in Little Havana, you know, there was like people of color, there was Muslims, there was same-sex marriages. You know, it was a very diverse neighborhood, and just like Miami's extremely diverse.
Yes.
When I moved to Charlotte, I absolutely fell in love with the Carolinas and just the Charlotte culture, right? Because the actual, you know, like Southern hospitality, like that's a thing, man. Like it's legit, you know, and you don't get a lot of that down there. But it is, I will say, it's pretty diverse. And the one thing I did notice when I first moved here was I walked outside, I got to know the neighbors, which were very friendly. But I looked around, there were no other Latinos in my neighborhood. Then, you know, go to the pool, and I'm like, you know, there aren't a lot of people of color here either. You know, I saw maybe one or two families. I lived in South Charlotte at the time, so I'm sure it's all making sense now.
Right.
I drove over to South Boulevard around that Pineville area.
Yeah.
It was Latino heaven. I mean, I was like, okay, well, here's where the Latinos are at, right? Drove over to West Charlotte, saw, you know, a large community of people of color. And you know, demographically, Charlotte is pretty diverse. The only thing I realized back then, which is still true today, unfortunately, is a lot of us live in our pockets. Right. So for me, again, I still didn't think anything of it. I just said, you know, it is just the way that it is. And then September 20th of 2016 happened. I was on vacation in South Carolina, about 5 hours away.
Okay.
And the friends that we were staying with, they were like, hey, what's up with Charlotte? Man, it's great. Y'all got to come visit us sometime. And they're like, no, turn around, look at the camera. Look at the TV, CNN. What's happening in Charlotte? So it had just broken out. Things had just happened because they spiraled pretty fast.
Yes.
And when I got back, for me, it was really that day, Kerry, that I became a Charlottean.
Okay.
Because it hurt, you know, to watch that, especially from a distance. So when I got back, I said, hey, let's get some friends. You know, I got some friends, business partners, and colleagues came over to my house, and I said, let's do something. And one of them is Jamal Harvey, who's our chairman of the board, who his brother was actually killed in an officer-involved shooting in Portland, Oregon a while back.
Wow.
So we had a pretty deep conversation, and since then, you know, it has been amazing. Because I know we talk about that there aren't a lot of Charlotteans, right, like true-born Charlotteans.
Right.
Well, wherever they were, they came out. Because a lot of them are Queen City Unity ambassadors now.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've met more Charlotteans in the last 2 years of my life than I did in the first 5 years living there.
And it's amazing how a situation like that can be a catalyst to affect some sort of change. Because I remember when that occurred, and just seeing how Charlotte reacted, you know, especially downtown, it was amazing. And you did start hearing more voices, and it concerned me because it shouldn't take a situation like that to affect change or even to have your voice heard. It almost has to be something that is done as naturally as possible. And it's interesting because with Queen City Unity, it seems like that's one of the tenets that you're imparting on those ambassadors as well as other individuals that come to be a part of our community, truly be a part of our community. You know, because sometimes we tend to say, oh, well, that didn't happen. It's not on my side of the grass, so to speak, or in my yard. But then with something like that, I think it really stung Charlotte in a way in which it's still reacting to even today.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, the interesting part was that there were a lot of organizations doing great things already. The only issue was people weren't hearing their voices as much because there wasn't something that had shook the city to the core. Right. So it's unfortunate, but fortunate that, you know, and it's very unfortunate it would take something like that to really drive that. But some of these organizations that have been doing amazing work before 2016, you know, for us, one of the cornerstones of the organization is like, we're going to partner and collaborate with just about anybody that is willing to do so. So some of these organizations that have been around for a while, really trying to drive the social justice change that we've been craving for a while. We've spoken to them, partnering with them, and the ones that we haven't, we hope to partner with them because at the end of the day, they have been working on this for a very long time, and it's important that they're not forgotten, right? As new organizations and new groups and new activist organizations come together, we can't forget that there were people working on it before. So for us, it's really important. We have to come together as a community, regardless of you know, wherever you live, whether it's in your backyard or not your backyard. We're one Charlotte. We're one city.
I like that. I like that, especially coming from, you know, I'm a transplant as well. I'm from Long Island, New York, and when I moved here, I moved to various areas in Charlotte. I had an opportunity. I moved over to behind Johnson Smith. That's when we first moved here. We lived right behind Johnson Smith. You know, so you got, you know, the Biddle area and the 5 Points. You know, my grandparents were there. And then moving from there to Independence Boulevard. You know, and I'm like, okay, now I'm on Independence, and I'm seeing, you know, and to me, Independence was more diverse than the Johnson Smith area. And it was interesting because we were living right next door to a Chinese family, and then we had a German family that lived right down the street. And Jason Wayne Nobbit, one of my best friends from elementary and junior high, was right down the street. And it reminded me of New York, because in New York, my dad had a place in Jamaica, Queens, and it was so diverse.
Yeah, very similar to Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we ran into everyone. I mean, from the shop owners to the dry cleaners, everyone was so diverse, and everyone helped each other. And that's where I remember so vividly loving that area. And then to come to Charlotte, and it kind of like switched up.
Right.
So, but then you still have transplants coming in, so you have the potential of us really being diverse and learning from all different cultures to be that one Charlotte, like you mentioned. So I'm appreciative that you said that. So let's just talk about that. Okay, you came from Miami, you came here, you did this. How has the growth been with Queen City Unity? I mean, I know there's been programs, there's been events and such. Like I said, it seemed like you came in and just hit the ground running. You know, what's next?
You know, I'll tell you, I mean, everything. So when we first started, right, contrary to popular belief, you know, there's some people that think we have this amazing stream of funding that's coming from I don't know where.
Right.
We don't. We're just a group of citizens, passionate citizens that want to make a difference. And when we first started, the very first thing that we decided to do was collaborate with other organizations that are already doing great things in Charlotte. Mostly because there's no cost to that.
Right.
And there's a huge impact for it, right? So we've partnered with, you know, Classroom Central. We've done the 9 food pickup for the Second Harvest Food Bank, and then we led our own initiatives, such as collecting over 10,000 pounds of coats, socks, and pajamas for the foster children in Charlotte. We We gave out over 2,000 items, last year on care bags for those, our homeless neighbors that live on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the very first thing that we did. And, knowing that by doing that, we're not really driving systemic change,
Mm-hmm.
but we are at least changing somebody's day and helping them.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece was the festivals and events. So we actually have the Charlotte Unite Festival coming up on October 6th.
Yes,
We'd love to see y'all there.
Definitely.
Yep, come on down, and we'd love for you guys to just come down, have a great time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did that last year, we're doing it again, and we're going to continue to make it an annual event. And for us, the Charlotte Unite Festival, some would argue that, well, what is a festival here?
Mm-hmm.
It's just another festival. Well, it's a little bit different. And the impact of the festival, and I do want to tell you a story about it.
Okay.
The impact of the festival was very evident the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And, we brought different cultures. I mean, I stood back and I looked at the crowd that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, I've never seen Charlotte look this diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that demographically we are diverse. But it was a diverse crowd that came together and stepped out of their silo for a day and hung out. So we have hip-hop, country music, Latino salsa, we got it all, right? This year we're actually going to have Indian dancers too, so we're pretty excited about that. Some Bollywood feel, and we're very excited because it's, the Indian community is also a big part of our community, so it feels good to involve them as well.
Yes.
But I stood back and I was like, man, this is so diverse. Now there's just one situation, let me tell you the story. So I'm walking by and there's a gentleman, which I'll change his name for the sake of anonymity. We'll call him Ted.
Okay, Ted.
Ted's a 30-some-year-old male that identifies as LGBTQ.
Okay.
Another gentleman, we'll call him Bob. Definitely, we got to protect Bob, actually, in this story. So Bob is a 50-some-year-old Southern man, white male, grew up here in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Highly religious.
Okay.
So I'm walking by and I see Ted talking to Bob, and I know Ted. I don't know Bob, but I just meet Bob.
Right.
And at the time, we had one of the performers up on stage. That performance ends, and these two guys have been talking for a good 30, 40 minutes. Wow. The performer gets down from stage, and we have a speaker coming up representing the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
Bob, the 55-year-old white male, turns around and looks at me and Ted and says, "Oh man, I hate gay people." And I just sat there and I was like,
whoa,
oh man, it's about to get real.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know Ted, and I know Ted won't stand for that, but Ted looks at him, and I was surprised by the way he reacted. He looks at me and says, "Man, I'm gay." And Bob looks over and says, "Oh, you're not." And Ted's like, "Yes, I am."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there and waiting for fireworks to just explode.
Right.
And Bob, the older gentleman, just starts crying. And as soon as he starts crying, Ted's like, "Why are you crying?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Man, my whole life I've been conditioned to just hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And now knowing you, before knowing that you identify as LGBTQ and that you're gay, I don't know. I now view you as a human being." And I get chills thinking about it because he's like, "I just view you as a human being, even though I still don't agree with your way of life.
Right. Okay.
I need to respect you as a human being."
Mm-hmm.
That one breakthrough times thousands of people, that's how we start driving and having those uncomfortable conversations in a comfortable spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, the Charlotte Unite Festival is truly a platform for a lot of those conversations to continue to happen. But that was a long way home to answer your question of how do we get there. I mean, and what's next? So what's next? We have two programs that we're launching this year.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is called the Equity Ambassador Program,
Mm-hmm.
which Brandon Miller, who's on our board of directors, is the program manager for it. Brandon has a long history of working with the youth across Charlotte.
Yes.
The program will be, and you know Brandon, actually.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the program is geared to the youth between 11 and 18. 11 to 18 years old. We talk about our schools being segregated, which they are. I'd say probably on the east side they're a little bit more integrated, but across the rest of Charlotte they are pretty segregated. So the ultimate goal for the program is to grab children from across all these not so diverse schools in Charlotte, bring them together into a diverse environment, and allow them to interact with each other.
Okay.
This will be an after-school program, and not only that, but they'll go through equity and equality training, learning a little bit about the difference between equity and equality because they are different, and understanding what is true equity. They're going to do team workshops to really kind of get to know each other and just build these bonds that hopefully last a lifetime. And we're going to do leadership development and financial literacy at a high level for them. Once they're done with this program, they will now go back to their home schools, back to their not so diverse environments,
Right.
and start a Queen City Unity Equity Ambassador Club within those schools to continue to drive the message of diversity and inclusion in those schools.
Wow.
So we're really excited about it. I'm a father of 4, so for me this one hits near and dear to my heart.
Right.
So we're going to pilot it in September. We're going to start with one school, probably on the east side of Charlotte, just to really draw a baseline for the impact of the program, and then ultimately start expanding to the other schools. That's the plan. The other program is the Charlotte Forward program. This program focuses on mentoring families, so it's a lifelong mentorship for upward mobility and helping these families that are living in poverty just get the resources that they need to escape generational poverty. And it's going to be, we already got one family or 2 families that we're working with. Every family is different, but for both of these programs, here's the most important thing: is number one, we can't do it alone.
Right.
Queen City Unity will not do it alone. We cannot. It's impossible. So we're reaching out to organizations that already offer some of these resources, such as credit improvement, credit management, and really just purchasing a home, and creating that path to home ownership. So the program for us, the mentors will be the glue that keeps it together, but the resources are all these organizations from Charlotte that we're trying to contact and really just work and collaborate with. So that's what's next, because for us, the first year and a half of Queen City Unity, we did a lot of charitable activities, which we'll continue to do.
Yes.
We had our festival, the Charlotte Unite Festival, and then smaller events that really kind of created unity in the community, so to speak. But in order to drive systemic change and truly drive, the change that we need, not giving a man a fish, but if we want to teach a man how to fish, the Charlotte Forward program, the equity program, in collaboration with all the other organizations that we want to work with, that's how we start doing it as a community. But we can't do it.
That's good. That's good. And it's important, too, that people understand that anything such as that magnitude, you need the involvement of the community. You can't do it alone, and you need their input as well. Because a lot of times, again, they have been so quiet. They have been silent or suffering in silence. So it's great that you're bringing those programs to them, and then they actually have the opportunity. And then it starts a catalyst from the youth side. I know one of the things that me and several other gentlemen were talking about was a lot of times you try to impart that wisdom onto young people, but then if they go home to a home that is not forward thinking as that or doesn't want to accept it, it almost deprograms them. It undermines everything that you're trying to do. So it's wonderful that you're sending a two-pronged approach to that. I mean, that's commendable. Now, here's one of the questions that I always like to ask on a personal level. Because we talked about the business level. We talked about what you're doing within the community. But for you, what do you have planned? Like 5 years from now? Because you mentioned you're a father of 4. Does that, what you're doing within Queen City Unity, does that impart on them as well? And then what do you have planned for yourself? What do you do in your downtime? Because I mean, you're just, man, I see you everywhere.
Yeah, thank you.
And I commend you for that. But, from what you're doing, and how does that impart onto your children? And then what do you do for downtime?
All great questions, man. So there isn't a lot of downtime. I can tell you that. As of 4 months ago, like I was saying, I stepped away from my job in the private sector to focus all of my time and energy on Queen City Unity.
Yes.
So, with the kids. We'll start with my kids. And I can tell you a story on how, and I was such a proud dad when this happened. So my daughter, Annalise, she's 10. And, I come downstairs and, she's drawing something. She loves art. So she's drawing a mermaid, and I look, and it's a mermaid of color. I can show you the picture later. And it's a mermaid, but she's a mermaid of color. And I'm like, oh, wow, Princess, that's a beautiful picture. And she goes, yeah, Daddy. There aren't enough mermaids of color on TV, so I wanted to make sure I drew one into existence there, because there has to be one. And to me, I was just blown away that, first of all, she would notice that, right? I mean, if you watch, like, The Little Mermaid, I didn't see any, mermaids of color there either. But for her to notice, number one, and then kind of take action in a way, because for her, that was the action, like, well, I'm going to make one then.
Right.
I was just blown away. Plus, it was pretty good art. Man, she's got talent.
Okay.
I failed art once in high school, so I give her props for that, man. But I think they really, truly will call they'll call out anytime that somebody says something, whether it's on TV or any of their friends around them. They'll call them out and say, hey, that's stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's racist. You can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've told me, Daddy, when you're really old, can we run Queen City Unity?
Oh, wow.
So I thought, again, so one of those other proud moments, and at the same time, when she said that, I was like, well, we got a lot of work to do. Yeah, so the downtime, with my downtime, I gotta say, I spent a lot of time with my girlfriend Jensen that I love dearly.
Wonderful one.
Yeah, you can have it, Harry.
Wonderful.
Thank you, man. I'm sure she appreciates that. I didn't pay him to say that.
Nah, it's, hey, truth be told. Yeah.
So I spent, given that she's so supportive,
Okay.
and, financially, when times have been tough, from a moral standpoint, when, despite the positive message of our group, we do get some racist messages that come in through our instant message.
Right.
We get some messages from some local activists that really want to make a difference, but for some reason they don't seem to accept our message or our progress. And she's just been the most supportive woman that I've ever met in my entire life. So I just spend it with her.
Okay.
So we'll go out, to Uptown, or just, we recently took a trip to Cuba, which was amazing. But really spending time with her and the kids is what I end up doing with my downtime. I don't really have a hobby. I don't watch sports as much as I used to.
Right.
There's just not enough time for that, because given all the time invested into Queen City Unity and into the community, when I have those moments, I want TVs off, I want cell phones away, I just want to hang out with the family now.
That's important, because you give so much, and when you're in that type of position in which you find yourself in the public eye so much, and you're interacting with individuals and helping them fulfill their dreams or their thoughts, or being a voice piece, it is great to be able to just steal away. And I'm glad you said that as far as just stepping back, because it's interesting. I mentioned on an earlier promoting podcast how sometimes individuals have to just step back and analyze and see everything.
Yeah.
And then allow that opportunity to refocus. And then when you get back in there, it's full steam ahead. You're rolling, the engines are running, and you're more direct and focused on what your intent is. So for you telling our fans that's amazing. And especially the downtime with the Cuba and you took care of it, I know.
Let me tell you, the Cuba trip, man, I came back with a whole new perspective on society in general.
Okay.
And Cuba, for those that don't know, is a socialist nation, and there's an embargo against the government, that doesn't allow trading between the U.S. and Cuba.
Right.
And it also pretty much limits any other major country from trading with Cuba, otherwise they're blackballed by the United States. Now there's 12,000 different reasons why. This embargo was placed in the 60s, during the missile crisis, and I can totally see why it was put in place then. But the people of Cuba are the ones being affected by it. But they are the most happy, they are the happiest bunch of people that I have ever met in my entire life. Despite them not having, all the resources and all the food and the clothes that they need, happiest people. So it really did change my perspective in a way when people start talking about, well, money, right? We worry so much here in the States about, we worry about how we're going to pay our bills.
Yes.
Really just acquisition of wealth and growth of it. So when I came back, my perspective was changed. So when I was like 20 years old, and I was in school, you would have asked me, hey, what's your goal? I'm like, I want to have 7 figures in the bank account.
Right. Yeah.
These days, first of all, I don't know if I want that, because a lot of other problems come with it.
Yes.
And secondly, it's just not a priority. So for me, I'm more than okay. That's why the job I had, I was getting paid 6 figures for. I'm okay and perfectly content never making 6 figures again, as long as we continue to have the impact and I see the growth of our community, and specifically at home with my kids. I'm happier. I'm much more energetic, and I sleep much better, because what we're doing and what I've been focused on for the last 4 months has just totally changed my perspective on life in general. So when you ask, 5 years from now, like, where do I see myself? I haven't put too much thought that far ahead personally, because it's been so invested in the community work we've been doing. But I would say, If you told me, I'll do it the other way around. If you told me that 5 years from now, Queen City Unity continues to make a great impact here in Charlotte, and the message has now spread to Raleigh and Durham and Charleston, South Carolina, and even larger than that, and we have cityunity.org in different places across the country.
Okay.
That brings happiness to my heart.
I can see it. I can definitely see it. Wow. City.org. We're speaking into existence, y'all. It's going to happen. Man, that's powerful. That's a powerful statement that you made in regards to the acquisition of wealth versus just being happy.
Yeah.
That says a lot, because you're right. When we're in school, you're taught to be, to obtain linear wealth. So in other words, you go to work, you get paid, and if you work harder, you'll get more money. But like Biggie says, more money, more problems.
Right,
so
right.
now, the whole perception of, you can be happy and you can be sustained doing what you love. It sounds like walking away from that six-figure job is that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, again, I would have never believed it. And I think there was a movie called Boiler Room back then.
Yes.
And in Boiler Room, I think they're like, oh, but people that tell you that money doesn't buy happiness are broke.
I remember that.
Well, I wasn't broke, a while back, and I was less happy then than I am now. So really, it's interesting how your perspective can change based on your circumstances.
Right.
And yeah, I've never been as happy as I am, Terry. And it's a total lifestyle change from an economic standpoint. But just seeing the base of our Unity ambassadors and their passion for just truly driving change here in the community, and then all the other organizations that we've partnered with and the great people that I've met, it really does give me a positive outlook on society. And I think part of what made me unhappy back then was that my outlook on society was belief. Like, I truly believe that the world was a very negative place. Stay in your lane, don't do anything, just stay away, right? Stay in your bubble, get as much money as you can, and just stay there. But nowadays, given what's happened here in the last 2 years since the launch of Queen City Unity, I have flipped my perspective, and I truly believe, and I'm telling you, it's a fact. There's more positivity in the world than there is negativity. The media just takes a lot of time to highlight the negativity in the world, and with social media and everything we got going on, and all the tools we have, which are great tools, but with these tools, you start seeing a lot more of that negativity, and it starts truly getting just embedded in your head that we are in a negative world. There is negativity, but there's more positivity, man. I tell you, I've seen it.
Y'all heard it first right here. I'm a big proponent of being the positive side of media. So to hear this from this brother, that means a lot. That means there is hope for us, but you have to take that first step. So how are people going to be able to follow you, man? I mean, this program is amazing, and the ambassadors are doing some great work in the city, and we've already said it's going to be a city.org. Y'all stay tuned. But how can they follow Queen City Unity, and how can they be a part of it? Because I know there's people out there that are just dying to give up their time, their energy, as well as change their whole perspective in their lifestyle. How can they be a part of it?
Well, yeah, man, we need all the help we can get. Somebody asked me, actually, like, how do we, when do you stop the Queen City Unity Ambassador acquisition process? I said never.
Right.
Never. So to find us, we're on Facebook at Queen City Unity. Instagram, it's Queen City Unity separated by the
the dash?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a dash. The one on the fly. I don't know. I didn't do so well at English. But yeah, Instagram, same thing, at Queen City Unity, and then Twitter at Queen City Unity, or just go to queencityunity.org. If you go on there, there is a tab that says, what is Queen City Unity? If you click on it, it'll tell you all about our 4 core initiatives, what we've done, what we plan to do in collaboration with other organizations here in Charlotte. And there's also a form that you can fill out. And if you fill it out, one of our Unity ambassadors will give you a call, hey, a little bit more about the organization. And then after that, we like to invite people to a meet and greet where we can meet them, get to know them, they get to know us. And after that, we got a lot of work to do. So, we really start figuring out in the meet and greet. We do an organizational structure breakdown. And at the end of the meeting, we usually say, hey, if you want to get involved, which team do you want to be a part of? And usually after that, people are pretty mobilized and fired up and ready to roll.
I like it. Well, family, you heard it first right here. I mean, again, everybody complains about there's not a system or there's not a change in place, and Queen City Unity is actually bringing that to you right now. You can be a part of it. Starting out, whether you're doing something small, like just bringing products or things that they're giving away to the homeless or giving away to our youth who needs it 365 days a year, to even being a part as an ambassador and working out there every day and connecting, creating that diversity that we long for. So, hey man, I appreciate you being a part of this. This has been amazing, and you know what?
Thank you.
Anytime you need us, you know we're there.
Absolutely.
Times is, you know.
And if I could say one more thing, you know, I know that we tend to get a lot of praise for the things that we have done, and I really do think that the Unity Ambassadors deserve that praise as much as they receive it. But one thing I always like to make clear is, you know, I don't ever want, we're not the saviors of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not, you know, here to save the day in Charlotte, because we can fight all we want for everything that we want to do. But if we don't have the support of the community, if we don't have the people to do it, if we don't have the relationships with the organizations that are already doing it, that we want to continue to build on, none of it gets done. And to me, that proves that, you know, that I'm right when I say we're not the saviors of the universe, because we can try all we want, but if we don't have the support of the community like we have, and if we don't have all these organizational partnerships that we have, and the other ones that we still want to go out and reach out to, none of it gets done. So just wanted to add that, because for me, it's something that I think about a lot. You know, especially as we've grown and we've gotten a lot of praise and awards, and you know, to me, it's not about that. And there's, because I go to sleep every night thinking, gosh, like we've probably done only about 8% of what we want to do. There's so much more to do. So I just hope that, you know, anybody watching out there, if you want to get involved, let us know. Fill out the form. I'll personally give you a call if you want, talk to you a little bit about it, and I'd love to meet anybody who wants to make a difference in this community, and hope to see you all at the Charlotte Unite Festival.
You will, bro. Definitely.
Yeah.
Guys, you heard it here first, right here. This is the reason why I wanted to have this first episode kick off, because again, it's about causing a change in the community, diversity, us opening our mouths and communicating. Hence the reason, Conversations with CD. It doesn't get any better than this. Stay tuned for the next show that we're going to have. If you would like to be a part of this show, definitely hit us up at urbantimes@hotmail.com. That's urbantimes@hotmail.com. Love to hear from you, some thoughts, ideas as far as how we can make the show better, as well as special guests. Again, it's about the positive side of media. Catch y'all then.